do something a little different. I'm gonna see if you guys enjoy it or not, because I know I love watching these type of videos, so I figure, maybe I'll start doing some of them too, just because I like them and I wouldn't mind making some too. So, those of you who've seen those, deep dive into Reddit videos where, somebody just goes into a random subreddit and either, focuses on one thread and great replies out of it, or just, a subreddit in general and just goes through and makes a video of some noteworthy posts. I went into the AskReddit subreddit, and one of the very top posts at that moment was, what was your weirdest date? So I'm like, oh, there's gonna be some goodies here, and oh, it did not disappoint. The hard part was trying to choose my favorites. And even with whittling it down out of thousands and thousands of them, I've still got 20-something of them here to share with you guys, so I'm torn between, do I make it a part 1 and part 2, or do I just make it all one big long video? I think I'm just gonna do one big long video, but, so fair warning, I figured out about 2 videos in how to edit out the background, just ambient noise. So the first 2 still have it, the others do not, but I know the volume levels are kinda up and down all over the place with this one, so just hang with me while I'm trying a new format and kinda ironing out the kinks, getting the hang of it and stuff. So I don't really have great hardware to work with at the moment, so I'm doing my best, but it's definitely watchable, I think. So I hope you guys will enjoy this. Without any further ado, Ask Reddit's strangest dates. I matched with a guy I knew from elementary school, so I felt pretty safe in our date being Netflix at his place. He was raised really strictly religious, so sex before marriage was out of the question. I knew his parents. Again, safe enough. His apartment was so filthy. I ended up cleaning and doing the dishes. His sole ambition at that point was to become Facebook famous, and he had become incredibly arrogant. In the end, he mentioned that he thought he was a positive influence in my life. He used to be such a nice kid. Honestly, is Facebook famous even a thing? I know, Tumblr famous, YouTube famous, Instagram famous, Twitter famous, did I say? But Facebook famous, is that even a thing? That's really sad. I have no words, guys. Okay, guys, this one, you're in for a treat. It's a wild ride. I met someone on an online dating service, plenty of fish. I was still pretty new to this internet dating thing in the mid-2000s, but she looked good in her picture and she sounded kind of fun. Before we could meet IRL, however, she asked for the date, time, and location of my birth so that she could do an astrological chart of our compatibility. Good news! She told me that we were very sexually compatible. This was looking better and better. On the day of, I pick her up outside her apartment. She's standing at the curb, holding an obviously used kitty litter scoop. We have to stop by the pet store so I can return this. Okay, I say, watching little bits of kitty litter fall onto the floor of my car. This is kind of weird, but okay. Off to the pet store to watch her argue with the sales clerk. Eventually, we finally get that done, so the date can officially start now. The plan was, since it was a first date, to go for a walk by the bay, San Diego, and get to know each other a bit. But first we stopped by Jamba Juice to pick up a smoothie for the walk, since we're being all healthy and stuff. And since I suggested it, I figured I'd be paying. She proceeds to order a smoothie in the extra large size with at least 2 of every supplement, including double wheatgrass. Total price was over $25. I didn't even know that was possible. At some point, it just becomes absurd. Sure, why not order twice the super energy boost and twice the calming boost at the same time? Makes sense. I was starting to get a sinking feeling that something wasn't quite right with this woman. Yes, the whole astrology thing was a big flashing red sign, but I had been blinded by the possibility of sex. Lots of high compatibility sex. During the promised idyllic walk by the bay, my date, over the course of 2 hours, told me more than I ever knew or cared to know about karaoke, but also about her 4 ex-husbands and how she really wanted to be married again, and soon. I think it was at this point in the date when I seriously started to wonder whether there really is such a thing as free will, or whether we are just destined to follow the path that has been preordained for us. I was just beginning to think, well, this is my life now. But then miraculously, the date somehow came to an end. I drove her home, thanked my lucky stars, and then proceeded to fake my own death. Just kidding, I think she figured out that while I certainly had enough money to buy her Mega Jamba Juices on occasion, I probably didn't have the financial profile she was looking for. I never heard from her again. Thank goodness. Oh my god. Okay, so just saying, I think I personally would have been out as of the point with the kitty litter scoop. Just saying. I mean, you do you, boo-boo, but I mean, oh my god. This story is really embarrassing. I've never told anyone. Here goes. Back in 1989 or so, I was working as a third-shift security guard in some office building. The place where I worked had a beautiful plant-filled atrium with lots of glass and trees. It was nighttime, so there was no sunlight coming through the glass, and the lighting was, well, more for effect than visibility. There was this attractive girl working there who I said hi to on occasion. On my last day of working before quitting, I decided to ask her out. She said yes and gave me her contact info. A few days went by, then it was time for the date, so I drove to her house to pick her up. I enter her apartment. Her roommate, or I thought, let me in. Have you ever seen a fluorescent light that was hard on your eyes? Unnaturally bright, bluish, flickering, really harsh? Well, that was the light in her living room. So even though it was bright, it was sort of hard to see. From the front door, you could see upstairs to 2 rooms. The roommate disappeared upstairs. I saw the 2 of them walking around up there, but just glimpses. Then one of them comes downstairs and says, "Okay, I'm ready." But there was a problem. It was the roommate. What was going on here? Did I mistake the roommate for the girl from work? Is this really the girl from work and I'm not recognizing her? I mean, they did sort of look alike. What's going on? Unsure of myself and being a socially awkward 19-year-old, I decided to just go with it. Because maybe I'm wrong. We got in the car and went to Chili's. On the way there, at dinner, she didn't say a word. Not a word. So I decided to cut the evening short and take her home. Looking back, I'm now about 99% positive the girl from work chickened out or felt bad about telling me no or something and was now not sure how to get out of it. And the roommate decided to go in her place, I guess for the free dinner. But it was such an awkward situation that neither of us was able to create any meaningful conversation. Oh god, that one is just so cringy that it hurts. I mean, oh my god. That is so bad, and I also see why you definitely would not want to tell that story to anybody other than behind the cloak of anonymity on the internet, but oh my god, I feel bad for you. I feel really bad for you for having lived that. And, you know, for the original girl. I don't know. Maybe it was the roommate, maybe it wasn't, I don't know. Whoever it was, it sounds like it was agonizingly painful and awkward and just, yeah. A Tinder date. The dude is kinda awkward, but seems nice enough. We go to my place in the daytime, and he starts acting weird. He wants to play a quote-unquote card game, where the winner gets to make the other person take off an article of their clothing. So of course he wins his own game, and asks me to take my shirt off. I'm already done with this whole thing, so I say, no thanks. He keeps pressuring me until I do. As soon as I take it off, he starts touching himself, without even taking anything off. And jizzes in his pants in 0.2 seconds. Most awkward situation ever. Oh my god. First off, did you date Louis C.K.? Because, just saying. But, oh my god, that is so bad. Like, any dudes listening to this, that is not how you behave. Don't freaking ever do that. That just is uncalled for and all kinds of inappropriate. My junior year in college, I was on student government. Our student government, among other things, did a Valentine's Day event. I had to attend the event and I wasn't seeing anyone at the time, so I asked a girl who I was friends with. The friend said sure, she'd go, but she knew another girl that was into me and she'd feel bad if I passed up on the chance to go with that girl. I ended up asking the girl who was into me, and things went well for about the first 3 minutes. Afterwards, she completely shut down. Any comment I made about something I liked, she would respond that she hated that thing. When we got to the event, I asked her if she wanted to take the stairs or the elevator, to which she responded that she preferred the stairs. I agreed that I preferred the stairs as well, to which she responded, "That's probably the only thing we'll have in common." She then told me that she loved music with profanity, and that she was sure I didn't. She then went on to insult my taste in music and movies. When we sat down, it was a murder mystery dinner. She was constantly on her phone, except for when she was complaining about how awful the murder mystery dinner was. I kept on trying to make jokes and make the evening fun for her, but she just complained. Seeing how bad things were going, the president and vice president, both very charismatic people, came over to tell jokes as well, but she ignored them too. I tried to ask her about her family, but I got as far as, I had a brother, but he died. At that point, I was miserable and just trying to get out of there as quickly as possible. I drove her back to her dorm and she told me that she'd been on worse dates, but a lot better ones. I didn't really know what to say, so I walked to the door and left. A week later, she saw me next Friday night with another girl, one of my friends, and freaked out over text. When I asked her why she was making a big deal out of it when she seemed to have such an awful time the previous weekend, she told me that she'd been wearing a strapless dress and was very uncomfortable, so that's why she was so negative. She then stopped replying. The next Friday night, she saw me again and texted me again asking if we could get together. I told her that she had said we had nothing in common, so a relationship probably wouldn't work out. She told me that because I loved the things she hated, that made her love them and want to try them too. I told her it didn't make sense, and I didn't really think we could be in a relationship, so she responded, "K." She then put a bunch of stories on Snapchat about how she ruined her chance with a great guy and posted a screenshot of her listening to I Want You Back by the Jackson 5. This was particularly hilarious because my roommate and I were dancing to it the night after the student government event and joking that the girl would be singing that song about me within a couple of weeks. Karma, bitch! Karma. Okay, guys, this next one, I don't know whether to gag or to roll my eyes more, but just, you'll see what I mean. So, on a first date with a woman, she tells me that she's a happiness coach. Yeah, I can gag right there. She was very nice and sweet to everyone, very upbeat. Then over dinner, she tells me that if you see someone who isn't smiling, then they aren't happy. So many sad people in the world. She wouldn't stop preaching happiness to me. I felt like I was in therapy. Next, she says that all cops are bad. Even if a cop is a good person and is always doing the right thing, they're still a bad cop simply because all cops are part of the problem. Well, I know an LA cop who's the nicest, most stand-up guy in the world, so I'm really starting to get concerned about this gal. So, she asked me to bring a list of my top 10 deal breakers in a relationship. She said she's gone over these lists with lots of guys, and no guy had ever told her she failed their list. But she failed the first 3 items in mine. Strike 1. Me. She must not have any communicable diseases. Happy gal? Well, everybody's got genital herpes. Oh my god. Strike 2. Me. Must not have an extreme amount of debt, not including a mortgage. Happy gal. I have $50,000 in credit card debt. Strike 3. Me. Must be at least okay with oral sex, giving and receiving. Happy gal. Oh, I could never put a man's penis in my mouth. But go down on me all you want. I love it. Strike out. Sorry. It was game over for me. Oh god, where to frigging start? I mean, first off, in case anybody actually follows that mindset, no, not everyone has genital herpes. That is a fucking lie, and no, I don't know if this woman is, like, confusing that fallacy with, thinking HPV, which even that, no, not everyone has. Sure, about 70% of people in America have it, but I mean, that's not everyone, and that's not genital herpes. So, problem. And then the little fucking pillow princess shit, like, no, yeah, like, don't even waste your time there. And that's not even starting on the debt or on her hatred of cops. This dude dodged a bullet. Like, a major fucking bullet is all I can say. Oh my god. She sounds like an absolute nightmare. Buckle up. So this girl I was talking to on a dating app started getting super sexual after a really short time. Super dirty stuff. She invited me over to her house, and me being young and horny at the time, I got in my car and I drove 1 hour to her house. When I knocked on the door, her mom answered. She let me in and introduced me to her father, her husband, and some little kid. Are the father and the husband not the same person? Anyway, the girl showed up looking nothing at all like her photos. Wider, and before I had time to say anything to her, the parents offered me dinner. I then sat at the dinner table and had dinner with this family who I did not know at all. The food was takeout chicken, barbecue chicken. There was clearly not enough for all of us, so the mother gave me all of the biscuits and gravy. That's all I had. Everyone else had delicious smelling chicken. They served warm, flat Diet Coke. The entire meal, the girl I was supposed to be banging would not make eye contact with me. The father put a slice of American cheese on his chicken at one point. Oh God. At no point during the meal, they asked why I was there or any other real questions. They had a normal family conversation about bills and light politics. To my absolute horror, when the meal was done, the mother told us to all go downstairs for dessert and a movie. Keep in mind, I'm like 27 years old. The movie was Walt Disney's The Black Hole. Side note, do you mean The Black Cauldron? Because I feel like you mean The Black Cauldron. Anyway, the father said it was his favorite movie, and of course we watched it on a tiny color TV on a VHS cassette. I notice as we are getting our seats, that's the girl... Let me try that again. I notice as we are getting our seats, that's the girl... Okay, I guess that's how they wrote it. That's the girl is nowhere to be found. I am sitting alone with strangers watching this jank-ass Disney movie. After about 15 minutes, I make an excuse to use the bathroom. I figure I could dip out and get the fuck out. I asked if I could use the facilities, and the father tells me it's upstairs. I make my way upstairs, and sitting in the kitchen is the girl on her phone. She just stares at me. I still remember all the chicken grease on her face from the meal. I did a tight, closed lip smile and yeeted my ass out the door. When I got home, I discovered she blocked me on the app. I deleted the app. Oh my God. All I can say is just, I'm sorry. I don't even know how to go about touching that one. I'm just sorry. Okay, so this one kind of starts out like mid-story, which you'll see by the cap, but anyway, so. She started out by telling me that she used to be bulimic in high school, and now she has a binge eating disorder. Then she told me how her ex left her house 2 months prior and pretty much ghosted her. I was like, oh shoot, that's horrible. She then told me about her other ex that she did coke with that actually used to work at a restaurant where my roommates worked. It was my first date ever, so I was like, okay, weird. The icing on the cake. She then told me that she was a love witch, and she practiced love magic. I was completely confused and said, oh, my roommate was Wiccan in high school. An hour later, we decide to leave. She hugs me by my car and rubs her hand down my chest, tells me that she had to go feed her dog, and left. Wow, yeah, you just, need to run the other freaking way from that breed of crazy. Oh my God. Okay, so this one actually is a reply to somebody else's reply in this thread, but the original reply wasn't that noteworthy, so I'm just gonna read this one that I capped. So, this reminds me of the time I was on a date that wasn't going well at all. No chemistry, stale conversation, the works. Obviously, neither of us were having a good time. I'm driving her home when we pass a car on the side of the road with a flat tire. There was an older guy struggling to get the spare out of the trunk, so I pulled over to help. Once it was properly put on, I got in the car, and the girl's demeanor 100% flipped. She put her hand on my thigh, said I looked cute with grease on my cheek. When we got back to her apartment, she insisted I come up and meet her cat. When we get up there, the cat won't come out from under the bed. I take this as my cue to leave, since I'm dumb and generally take offers at face value. Before I can get my jacket back on, she's pushed me onto the bed and gave me one of the bottom 10 BJs I have ever received. Lots of enthusiasm, zero skill. Somehow I came, and with that I went, despite her offer to stay a while and try for round 2. I'd run into her every now and then after that, but it was always awkward, and we had nothing to even briefly chat about. Despite this, over the next couple of months, I'd occasionally get late-night drunk texts from her. I can talk. From her, but I never did more than respond with 1 or 2 word excuses of why I couldn't hang out with her right then. Overall, a very odd experience. You know, this is one of those things where I would say this sounds like a, yeah, that happened, bro, kind of thing. But at the same time, just the weirdness of events in this one, something about it pings for me is, you know what, that one probably did, in fact, actually happen. Sometimes the truth is weirder than fiction ever could be. Posted this on another account, and I may have posted it on this one too, but I don't remember. But it was definitely at the time I went on a date, and during the dinner she thanked me for not being a weirdo or a creep. Met on OkCupid, because so many of the dudes she had talked to had been horrible, and something to the effect of, I was one of the first she actually felt comfortable meeting in person. I said, you're welcome, and that you gotta be careful these days, because you never know when you could end up in somebody's basement. She responded by telling me that she had spent 6 weeks tied up in someone's basement on purpose, and she enjoyed it. Didn't make it to a second date because she started sending me nudes after knowing her for less than 3 days, and I was super uncomfortable with it. So, am I the only one thinking Onision with this one? Because, oh my god. I met a girl online. I could tell she was overweight from her pictures, but that's not necessarily a deal breaker. I was super lonely at the time, and she'd asked me to dinner and ice cream, so I was excited. I get to her house, and she comes out to meet me on a mobility scooter. Her pictures must have been from several years prior, because she had gotten to the point where she was so big she couldn't walk. She takes a look at my car and gets mad that it doesn't have a wheelchair lift, so how am I supposed to take her out? I should have just left, but I felt bad, and I asked if she just wanted to watch a movie at her place and order food. She lived with her parents, who chain-smoked and argued in the same room that we were trying to watch the movie the entire time. She also tried to shove my hand down her pants in full view of them. We ordered an extra-large pizza and two liters of... Try that again. We ordered an extra-large pizza and 2 liters of Coke. When it arrived, she looked confused and said, "Didn't you get anything for yourself?" She proceeded to down all of it on her own, and followed it up by a tub of ice cream. After the date was over, she kept texting me every couple days asking if I would bring her food. I eventually just blocked her number. Yikes. Wow. And the only thing that makes this post even better is that somebody commented, "The minute you saw the scooter, you should have blazed. You didn't sign up for that, and omission is still a lie." And the original poster's response to that is, "I know, I really wish I had, but just a couple days before, I was complaining to a friend about how hard it was to date if you're shy. I said that if any girl asked me out, I'd give her a chance. I ate my words, and she ate everything else." Oh my god. It's so beautiful, I can't. Oh god, I love it way too much. My second online dating experience. Agree to meet the guy at a local bar/restaurant. He's at least 50 pounds heavier than his picture, but I think, no reason to be a judgy bitch. Hear the guy out. Maybe he's great. He seems intelligent. We like similar music and books. About 20 minutes in, he starts telling me that he's got this gift where you can say any date from any time in recent history, and he can tell you what day of the week it was. He hands me his phone and says, "Try me." So I give him like 5 dates, and he crashes and burns, getting them all incorrect. Again, whatever. I know I'm not there to get married, but at this point, I want to eventually wiggle out of it without being rude. We start talking about music festivals and drugs and eventually hallucinogenics. I really do enjoy a good acid trip. He says he's never does it and never will. Being that I've done Being that I've done acid several times over the course of several years, I know that it isn't everyone's bag. The conversation moves along. Fast forward about 45 more minutes. He says, "You want to know why I haven't done acid? Truthfully?" And I say, "Yeah, why not?" He says, "It's because I'm schizophrenic." Okay, the date is now over, but I had literally never ever met anyone who has schizophrenia, so my inner nerd gets the best of me, and I start asking questions. How old was he when he had his first onset episode? How long did it last? Does he remember everything from an episode, or does time get weird? All that kind of stuff. So it comes time to pay the tab and go. I live in the South but was raised in the North. No girl worth her salt is gonna let a man pay her tab who isn't family, so we go Dutch and he asks me if he'll see me again. I politely decline but say thanks for the good company. That's when it got ugly. He asks me why. I tell him I'm getting too old to just play the field, and that I wasn't looking for a casual boyfriend. I was looking for something long-term, and I wasn't gonna waste both of our time if I knew I wasn't into him. Then he says, "Stop talking," and proceeded to explain why none of my reasons for not wanting to be with him forever were valid. I got my change from the server, left my part of the tip, and said, "Alright, bud, go fuck yourself." He blew up my phone for the rest of the night until I blocked his number. Yikes. Yikes indeed. Oh my god, just, you don't want to is reason enough. You don't have to give any further explanation beyond that. You owe people nothing in terms of that. Not to mention, mental illness is not an excuse to be a dickwad when it comes to dating or any other kind of relationship, so yeah, no, that guy can indeed go fuck himself. Okay, fair warning on this one. This one's upsetting as an animal lover, so just, you've been warned. Met a guy through Match. His profile said he was a veterinarian. On our date, I asked if he worked in a local clinic. He said no. He worked at a racetrack and looked after some of the horses. Spent the next 25 minutes telling me about all the ways the horses regularly die during, before, and after races. As this was upsetting to me, I tried to change the subject, but somehow the conversation went back to his days in vet school. He asked me if I realized that veterinarians have to do surgery too. I said yes. He then proceeded to tell me how bad he was at surgery and how he killed several dogs during the course of his training. Note, he said this not remorsefully, but almost as if it was a joke, like he killed a potted plant. At this point, not only was I getting upset due to my love of animals, but I was getting a "this guy's a weirdo" vibe, so I tried to end things. Silly me casually asked what he was up to that weekend, and he said he was doing a vaccine clinic for cats and dogs, and that if any of the annoying little yippy dogs came in, he'd stab them extra hard with the needles. I literally ran back to my car and immediately blocked his number. Holy shit. First things first, report this guy. He should not have a vet license. Secondly, yeah, run far and run fast, because that dude has serious psychopath vibes, screaming all over him. Okay, guys, this one's a twofer, so strap in, buckle up. This one's a wild ride, both of these stories from the same poster. It's like Christmas came early. Ugh, I've had a few bad ones, but the weirdest worst happened a few years back. Met this girl online, started talking, arranged the date. It was around Halloween, so all of her pictures had her in costumes and wigs. What I was assuming were Halloween parties. I was excited to get to see what she really looked like. Day of the date, she happened to be picking up her new car and asked if she could pick me up. Weird, but no biggie. So she picks me up and says, "Mind if we grab coffee and drive around for an hour so I can get used to my car?" Weird again, but whatever. So now we're driving around for a good 2 hours, and the conversation is wearing thin. I knew she had worked that day. We hadn't really talked about it yet, if you can believe it. And I said something like, "So, how's work been lately for you?" And she said, "It's slow this time of year. Sometimes I want to pull my hair out." Like a fucking idiot, I decide to respond with, "Well, don't do that. Nothing attractive about a bald girl." To which she replies, "This is probably a good time to tell you I have cancer. I'm actually wearing a wig right now." And suddenly it all clicked. The pictures with all the wigs made sense. I didn't know what to do. You can't put your foot any further down your throat than I had done. I knew I had to say something, so I said, "I feel really embarrassed about what I just said. Maybe I should just go." Keeping in mind, I'm in her car and have nowhere to go. To which she pulled the car over and had me get out. Literally 30 minutes from my house. I had to call my mom and to come and get me. I was 32 years old at the time. So that sucked. It wasn't as bad as the girl who got diarrhea on our first date. Sorry, actually we had dated for 6 months. And yet, in other ways, it was worse. Oh my god. There is no comeback for that. But there's a part 2, so hang in there. Edit the diarrhea story. I was dating this girl for about 6 months, then we went to a big film party sponsored by some vodka company. My date got fucking hammered, like unattractively hammered. So we're driving home, and I look over, and she hikes up her skirt and starts pissing all over my seat. Soaked the thing. You wouldn't think a girl, a human, could expel that much liquid, but here we are. We pull into her house, and she opens the door and runs inside. I had to run around and close her door because it was a 2-door Sunfire, and those doors were like wings. Took me a few seconds to head inside. By the time I get back to running around to the front of her house, I notice she's standing outside, hunched over a small garden. I'm assuming she's throwing up, so I go over to check on her, but she puts her hand up and says, "Stop! I'm shitting!" And I look down, and there's diarrhea all around her feet. She literally exploded. I didn't know what to do. But fuck, man, I had to do something. This was one of those, how the fuck did this become my issue to fix situations? So here's where things get interesting. I ended up calling her sister. This girl took literally 10 minutes to come to the door, but when she did, she had 2 kettles of near-boiling water. The girl I was with ran inside, and her sister came out, handed me a kettle, and started pouring it all over the shit. I basically did the same. I was floored to learn that this wasn't her first time doing this. So then I go inside and find my girl. She made it as far as the upstairs bathroom, where I found her naked, laying on her side, throwing up, shitting, and a tampon string hanging from her amongst all of it. I learned a great deal about how capable a woman's bowels truly are on that evening. Finally, once she was cleaned up and ready for bed like 2 hours later, I left, got into my car, and realized my passenger seat was still soaked with piss and the car was rank. So, I guess you could say it was a pretty good night. You know what, I feel like there is no point even looking further in this thread. I'm pretty sure this story just wins. All the Reddit points for today. It just wins. I was 15 and my sister was 17. The local farmers' sons were interested in taking us on a double date. Oh, I so didn't want to go. The younger son, my date, was a weird fellow who sort of jumped everywhere. As I love my sister very much and she really wanted to go, I went. Fuck me, big mistake. We walked to their farm, and as we approached, my date came bounding up the path. Big jumps and strange air kicks all the way. He jumps up and down and tells us where we're going. We're all going to see their super-duper excellent chicken farm way across town. Chicken farm? Oh yes, chicken farm. So we get in their vehicle, and holy shit again, it was an ancient Jeep thing, I think. I do bloody remember it had no fucking doors and a ripped black tarp for the roof. Seatbelts? Pfft, only losers have seatbelts in their cars, eh? We drive across town, my sister and I scared to fucking death by the older brother's fucking crazy donkey driving. They both jump out, and the younger brother grabs my hand and says, "Come on." We get to a massive metal barn-type thing, and like a magician, he waves his arm, and oh, holy shit again, he rolls back the door, and there it is. Rows and rows and rows of chickens, stacked floor to ceiling. It was a battery farm. They took us to a battery farm for a first double date. The noise was so awful, the smell too, but oh god, the chickens, the poor little chickens. I wanted to cry. I think my sister sorta did at one point. They both run in, down this massive aisle stacked so high with unhappy clucking chickens, shouting for us to follow. We don't. Fuck, this is the most disturbing thing I had ever seen in my life. As we won't go in, they start to bring chickens out for us to hold. My sister realizes this is all too much for us, asks to leave. They say they have one more treat for us, please don't go. We foolishly agree and are taken to a farm supply store where they bought chicken feed in new buckets. Oh my god, like, I know there's the whole stigma with, like, farmers and shit, but I'm pretty sure this takes the cake for just social ineptitude, like, all to a whole other level, but oh my god, that is so sad and so disturbing, and I think I probably would cry in the same situation too, seeing that many chickens living in those kind of conditions. I went on a date with a guy who was supposed to pick me up after work. He showed up before my shift started, stayed all day. He stole stuff from my work, or he tried to. I wasn't aware of this until coworkers told me the next day. He brought me to the Waffle House and blew his nose at the table repeatedly. He went to the bathroom a bunch as well. His car broke down when it was time to leave, and our waitress, who he tipped in change, had to give him a jump. He also told me about his hobby of LARPing, which is live-action role-playing or dressing up like weird stuff for those who don't know, and told me that the books I read were for stupid people. He asked me out for 5 years after this, and I blocked him on all social media. I finally changed my email address and got rid of him. I don't know how to tell you this, but just judging by that one post, can pretty much guarantee dude is a coke addict. Just calling it right now. Told a girl I was into granola environmental shit. She replied, me too. We hit it off quickly. Anyway, she kept talking about how incredible her job was, and that she taught a bunch of kids about environmental issues and how amazing this job was, basically begging me to come check it out. So we picked a day and I took a day off of work. It had been a while since we had seen each other, so she decided it'd be fun to send me real kinky texts about fun places we could sneak off to around her work, as it was her fantasy. I was down, and I was getting myself in the mood. I drive to her work, only to find out she works at a trash-burning power plant and recycling center, and on that day, we'll be giving a tour to a bunch of preschoolers. Throughout the quote-unquote date, basically every chance she could, she would try to get me turned on when no one was looking. There were about 20 kids and teachers right there. Meanwhile, we're walking through the piles of rotten trash, or looking at machinery that could kill you in an instant if you stepped over a boundary line, or staring into a white-hot furnace to see the burning trash. Therefore, the more you walked around, the dirtier you felt, which in a way was not surprising. I still had the worst blue balls in my life, which in itself was questionable. Anyway, the tour ended, she took me in her office, and well, let's just say it took 3 showers and a wave to a priest to feel clean after that. Oh god, that just... Oh, no, I guess guys are weird, because they seem to have this mentality where they're just like, I'll try anything once when it comes to that, but, oh god, I feel like there's certain lines where you gotta draw a line and be like, yeah, no, that's too sick even for me, and I'm pretty sure that would cross a line, but I'm also not a guy, so what do I know? Went on a Tinder date who made it clear she had mental health issues and PTSD from past trauma, so we decided to meet for bubble tea. I get a seat and wait. She walks in with a large stuffed shark. Cool, plushies are fine, they can be a good therapeutic tool. She gets her beverage. We sit down to drink. Not even a hello was exchanged, and we dive right into how she was assaulted and raped. I was in the healthcare field, I can listen. The thing is, though, she was talking very loudly. Uncomfortable levels of loudness about tough issues. I could not redirect her or change the topic. Nothing. She wasn't having any of that. So I panicked and said, "Wanna go to your car and make out?" Her eyes light up and she loosens the grip on her stuffed shark. Okay. We get back to her car. We kiss very awkwardly. It was mostly teeth, and the shark was kind of between us. I mentioned how I'm kink-friendly to her previously. She hit me with a weird question in this awkward, teethy kissing. Can we do some rape play? I kind of panicked again. Are you sure? I mean, maybe we can walk to a park, I stammered. We get out of the car. We walk towards the park. The entire time she is talking about her trauma. All that jazz. Just awkward. We get to a fairly private space. She says softly, "Maybe we shouldn't do this." Yeah, sounds good to me. I ended up jerking off while she watched me. I took an Uber home. I texted her that I had a good time. She ghosted me 100%. Wow, so many things to be said here. First off, am I the only one that thought the mention of the teethy kissing has anything to do with, she brought a giant stuffed shark to this date? Maybe this chick is into sharks. I don't know, maybe that's her kink. I don't friggin' know. But, I'm thinking this chick, if she's, wanting to roleplay quite that way, she probably wasn't actually traumatized that way, or you would not want to relive that on purpose. Just take my word on that. No, that doesn't add up. But then the fact that the dude, after all of that, thinks it'd be okay to just jerk off in front of her. Like, what the fuck? And yet, where does my mind go? So did the shark watch? So I was 18, in the Air Force, and living in the dorms. My roommate set me up with his girlfriend's cousin, and the four of us went to a movie. She brought a stuffed animal. Not a tiny little thing that some women clip to their keychain. Oh, no. It was a gigantic blue rabbit, at least as big as a toddler. She said she brought it because sometimes she gets scared in movies. We were seeing a comedy. After the movie, we grabbed some ice cream and drove the cousins home. My date invited me to kiss her at the door, but told me I should also kiss Pebbles so that he wouldn't be jealous. Edit, of course I kissed Pebbles. My date was actually out of my league hot, but crazy. You know, I feel like the hot girls get so much more leeway to do crazy shit like this, because, like, if an average normie were to pull this crap, nobody would give them the time of day. Hot girl can pull this shit, nobody even, like, bats an eyelash, hardly. It's not fair, man. I was interested in this girl, and she kinda tricked me into a double date, where she was dating another guy, and had fixed me up with her sister. Being a good sport, I went along with it, and it was awkward but okay-ish. But then she set me up with her sister again, and this time it was just the two of us. We went to the park. She had filled the trunk of her car with troll dolls, I mean dozens and dozens of them, and spent the entire day introducing me to her trolls one by one. I should mention, we were in our 20s. She was getting frustrated and angry because I didn't seem all that interested in her dolls. So sitting there, hands full of troll dolls, she exasperatedly asks me, "So are we going to have sex? Do you even know how to have sex?" Not with you, I don't, I said, and got up and walked home. There's only so much one can endure while being polite. Now, while that right there would probably win one of the top spots on this list, there is actually a reply that, in my opinion, is even more batshit crazy and even better, and I'm gonna read it. LMAO, this reminds me of a girl I saw briefly back in my late teens. I was 19 and she was 24. Mostly, she came to my apartment or we fooled around at work. We worked together. First time I go to her place, as soon as I walk in, there's just Care Bears fucking everywhere. I mean dozens of stuffed animals, posters, every single movie she owned. Everything was Care Bears. The first thing I asked was, "Are you going to murder me?" Then she asked if I was hungry. Only thing she had was leftover pizza from the place we worked. I figured it was a good time for me to leave. She married a guy I know. Eventually they got divorced. He complains to me about her all the time, because she still breastfeeds their 4-year-old son, which is giving him digestive issues, and a doctor even appealed on his behalf that she's harming their children and should lose custody, but because of the state we live in, they still let her keep the kids. Also, he's been remarried for a couple years now, but she is still telling the kids that mommy and daddy are just fighting and he's gonna come crawling back to her any day now. I don't even know how to respond to that. Just, there is so much going on there, and it escalated so freaking quickly. But you know, any story that starts with, "This reminds me of," in response to a post about troll doll sex, I mean, you know, it's gonna be a wild ride. Went on a first date where someone asked me why I cut my hair so short. I guess I could have lied or blown off the question, but I don't like to start anything with falsehood, so I told him that I had chemo for breast cancer, that I'll probably be completely fine now, and we absolutely did not have to talk about it. He asked me a few questions about the surgery, a single mastectomy, and he said, "I want to know which one it is, but I can't look at your boobs now." I told him if he could guess which boob got the axe, I'd buy the drinks and appetizer. He won, and I never saw him again. I'm positive I am the weirdest date that guy has ever been on. Edited to add a shameless plug. If you want to know which boob is murderous, you'll have to listen to the relevant podcast episode or find a picture of me and guess, and I'll buy your drink if you're right. Dude, that is that guy's loss. Honestly, you sound like a fun as hell date, just saying. Another one. I went on a date with this girl from Tinder. She super liked me and messaged first, so I was really happy to have someone interested. I asked if she'd like to go for a walk sometime, and she said she'd love to. So we get to walking, and like 5 minutes in, she asks if I have roommates. I say yes, I live with 5 people, and tell her about a few of them. There's Max, Matt, Mark. Wait, Mark Smith? I know him. What's he been up to? So we start chatting about my roommate, and she knows a lot about him. His family, the sports he plays, his girlfriend. Every time I try to move the conversation somewhere else, she brings it back to Mark. She's not even pretending to be into me anymore. She's just fangirling out over my roommate. I just love him. His hair is always so shiny and he smells so nice. She spends the full 2 hours talking about him and asking all sorts of questions. I didn't really know what to do, so I just boredly kept answering. When we get back to our cars, she shifts gears again. Hey, so I had a really great time. Want to go back to your place and have some fun? She's really creeping me out at this point, so I tell her I have homework to do and maybe later. I get back and tell Mark about the date, and he knows exactly who she is. He picks up his phone and immediately calls the police. They show up at the house and find the girl outside in the backyard and arrest her for violating a restraining order or something. It turns out she was super unstable and had stalked my roommate since they went on one date almost a year prior. She recognized from photos she had of him and used me to find out where he lived. Oh, holy shit. That's like a special breed of crazy right there. And yet the fucked up part of me is kind of impressed at the level of crazy she went to with stalking him. That is really bad to admit, but if people like that could just put their skills to good use and become like private investigators or something, we'd probably have a lot more crimes solved, but just saying. And that is that. I didn't really put them in any kind of order or anything, but hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I really hope so anyway. I had a lot of fun putting it together. So you guys know what to do. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like. If you're not already and you'd like to be, click subscribe, hit that notification bell icon so you never miss an upload. Leave comments down below about anything in this video. Which story was your favorite? Do you have your own weirdest date story that you want to share with the world? Like, feel free to leave them down below, or anything about anything, or a subreddit you'd like me to check out, anything at all, leave it down below in the comments. Make sure you're following my social media accounts, my Facebook fan page, my Twitter, my Instagram, my Etsy, everything and more. It's all down below, and if you like what I do here on this channel and you'd like to help support it and get in on some of those donator perks, the donation link, as always, is down at the bottom. So, anyway, guys, till next time, bye-bye.